I've been using this technique for a long time now to choose supports in different lanes, so I can try to pick out the best support for the best situation. Or a lot of times it's like a counter pick that I can do for the enemy support, and the way it all comes together is through this lens that I've been looking at the supports meta on League of Legends through. And basically, I like to divide the supports into four separate categories: the healing, sustain, or enchanter supports, the tank supports, the poke supports, and then the all in or kill lane supports. So these are the ways that I divide up the four different kinds of supports which define bot lane. I think that bot lane mostly the ADC, although it's going to affect a lot of things, most ADCs early in the game are a bit interchangeable. They all depend on gold to be strong and relevant, except for like a few lane bully ADCs. There's some mobility issues, like some ADCs are more mobile than others. You have some hyper carry scaling ADCs, and then you have more like lane bully oriented ADCs, like I mentioned earlier. But at the end of the day, the ADC kit is going to basically function the same way. It's a marksman, it does damage from range, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. It's just consistent damage from range. That's it. The supports, however, really define the personality of the lane. Like, depending on what support you have bot lane, is going to impact, like the support sets the pace of the lane. It's going to impact what you're allowed to do as an ADC, and how the lane state progresses oftentimes will be more dependent on the support pick than on the ADC. For example, a healing, sustain, or enchanter support lane, like lots of times these are range supports. They're going to provide shields or HP from just like actual heal. So just actually heal your HP back up, or they'll give you a preventative, proactive shield to prevent damage from happening to you in the first place. But the main thing here is they're usually ranged, and ranged champions have a whole lot of ability to just push the lane or harass like melee supports or tank supports. So just the fact that your lane is ranged means that, and the enemy support has a melee pick, may mean that you get level 2 first in almost all situations, just by the fact that you're able to safely push the wave and harass from range, whereas the melee support has to respect that unless they want to take a like a major deficit to their HP or health pots to make something happen, which can happen sometimes.
Yeah, tough crowd, tough crowd.
It has strong counterplay potential. You're able to basically stay in lane for longer, so you'll get XP or gold advantage. Healing and sustain lanes are able to deflect a lot of damage that would normally stick. And other lanes, the sustain lane is able to heal that damage back up or prevent it from happening in the first place, so that they're able to just stay in lane longer and gain an XP gold advantage that way. Mid game, they will often synergize with other carries as well as the ADC, so that they can shield, heal, or work with another carry to basically like symbiotically control the game by enhancing the abilities of another carry. So they don't have to always be paired with their ADC. They can easily be like the heal mom of the entire team even. Then when you add in things like Ardent Sensor, like just giving that shield or heal to your teammates can really be the difference of like half an item almost or more in a team fight for each one of your members. Now, they do have a couple of weaknesses and vulnerabilities, as do all types of supports. There's always something you can exploit. So the sustain enchanters usually are quite squishy and vulnerable to being picked off by assassins, unless it's like anti-dive like Lulu, but we won't talk about that. And the other thing is that they do require a semi-fed carry to really shine because, like, if you play an enchanter and all of your carries are just not that strong, you're not that strong either. You're only as strong as your strongest carry, so you can't really make plays happen by yourself. You are gonna be very much like tied to another player, almost like a Yumi. Uh, Moving on to tank supports. So the tank supports have high HP and defensive stats. Generally, they have a lot of stalling potential, so they're able to just barely hang on with not a lot of HP. They can pull the minion wave oftentimes, because the lane will be pushing towards you, but sometimes you're able to outlast the enemy just through your sheer tank stats alone. They just won't have enough early game to actually kill you if you play well. You don't take free damage. There are incredible potential for tower dives later on, so you're able to get in there and be the front line that your team really wants. You can start aggro from the tower onto the tankiest champion, often provides hard CC as well, and so you're able to set up a tower dive and then get out without anyone else taking any damage at all. If you're a tanky support, you can provide like a long window of opportunity for your team to really make the play happen. Tank supports often, like I said, have access to strong hard CC in their kits. So almost every tank support is going to have some form of hard CC. Whether they use that for engage or disengage is completely up to them and dependent on the situation. But oftentimes tanks are like the best supports to peel for a carry. So when you talk about your carries wanting peel, tank supports oftentimes should save their hard CC to essentially stop damage from happening to their carry. So they'll save that hard CC for an assassin or a threat instead of trying to use it as an initial frontline engage. They can use it as a backline peel. Now the tank supports are also vulnerable to certain other types of lanes. They are vulnerable to being harassed at range, so they also can get kited by ranged characters. So the worst thing that can happen for your tank support is to get poked out of lane. They damage as they take damage. It often does stick. Some of them do have abilities to heal themselves a little, but or itemization can help this later in the game. But early on, they're gonna be basically sitting ducks until they can get within auto attack range or melee range. So they may have to flash or use other tools to up for mobility. They often have low mobility. Often, some of them do have mobility spells too, though. So again, it's all how you play it. And oftentimes most tanks will have low damage. I know that people are going to, in the comments, probably say that that's not the case. I can see the Ambessa VODs now of just like tower dives. But no, like tanks are low damage, especially a tank support, compared to some of the other supports you'll find in the bot lane. And then the other thing is oftentimes it will take a little bit of time and resources to attain that major solo laner tank status that you would get from a top lane tank. So a support tank is going to be a couple levels down usually and have to have a little bit of gold to get access to those really big juicy tank items. So it may be a while before they become actual full-fledged solo lane tanks that are able to absorb the brunt of damage of the entire enemy team. It takes quite a while for a bot lane tank to get to that point, unless you're Alistar and you can just press R. Okay, so the third type of support, I like to divide these up into is the poke lane. So poke lanes are high damage. They have ranged harass. Generally, because of this, they're allowed to have increased wave control. They're able to push the wave and zone the enemy off the wave pretty effectively using just their high damage or the threat of that damage. They oftentimes have access to hard CC as well, as some stuff from the control mage kit. So like a lot of control mages that would normally be mid lane can also facilitate quite well in the support role in bot lane. They have high lane pressure and high kill potential often. So they have a high damage contribution for their entire team's damage, oftentimes. But the trade off and caveat for this is the poke support will pretty much have less. You'll have less frontline and less peel for your carries usually. Uh, they can also proxy as a mid laner to catch waves and even catch big side lane waves. They can stop split pushers. So I think poke supports that have great wave clear are actually really good into split push top laners. Just later in the game, if there's nothing else you can do, you can clear a massive wave top lane so that the Jax isn't able to hopefully dive you and finish the tower. Uh, But for all the advantages that you have from all the high damage to explode your opponents, poke them out of lane, and gain your advantage that way, there's plenty of vulnerabilities that a poke support will have as well. They're vulnerable to ganks because often they're overextended. They're dependent upon mana, so they must have a mana resource, especially in early lane. This if they want to keep dishing damage out, they're gonna have to keep having mana to do so. So once you run out of mana, your damage is done, and you're also pretty vulnerable at that point to being counter engaged upon, usually because you've pushed the lane out. You'll tend to run out of mana versus a sustain lane. One of the worst situations is where you waste all your mana to try to poke the enemy, and none of the damage actually sticks because if you can actually hit your skill shot, because oftentimes it's a skill shot, then there's a sustain support that can just heal it right back up. Well, they can stay in lane for a long, long time, be really obnoxious, and you're never able to actually close the kill out. So you're just essentially stuck in a standstill with the sustain support, and the sustain supports can oftentimes turn those matchups in their favor as time goes on, especially as they're able to buff their ADC and team with just the items that they actually build. But and then another vulnerability of poke supports is their vulnerability to dives, and then also being picked off later in the game by assassins or plays around vision. It's very dangerous for a poke support to go out and get vision usually. So playing around with objectives can be quite difficult for the poke lane. You generally want to push your waves out first and then go get vision when the enemy has to go catch the wave at the tower, and you know that you're a little safe to get up and creep up in the jungle. All right, and then the last type of lane is the all-in kill lane. These guys also have high damage. They have access to hard CC. Often the lanes will operate on cheesy tactics such as hiding in a bush or starting like a weird skill, invading your jungle, all sorts of weird stuff. Typically, the balance of this is that they will fall off later if you don't feed them, and because a lot of times a kill lane will need quite a bit of gold to be functional if it's like a Pantheon support. I think I put Thresh into this just because he is an all-in support, but or like stuff like Pike. Basically you want to hide in a bush, you want to bush camp, and then you want to use your level 2 advantage with your CC to just all in the enemy. They have major roaming potential. The all-in supports are some of the best roam supports ever because they usually have high damage, they have CC, they have pretty much everything they need to get behind someone, lock them down, and kill them, which is exactly what you want from a roam. Now, there's some balance that there's some counterplay to this. Like I said, they will fall off later if you can survive the lane against them early. They generally will fall off without gold. And they just don't provide the same utility that actual support champions, other supports do. So versus proper peel or anti-dive, they can also be neutralized. They tend to lose extended long fights that have ramping damage from an ADC or tanks that can survive their burst. And when they're behind, they actually feel so useless because, like I said, they will really lack the utility that other supports have. So you can also poke them down to the point where they cannot all in. They will be too scared to all in, or they will not have the damage. So if you can poke them out and play safe without getting flashed on or cheesed, you can actually poke them out of lane, and they'll lose a lot of EXP and lane prio that way. But yeah, so those are the 4 different types of supports, guys. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. This is my own kind of like homebrew theory, so I'm still workshopping it. But generally, when I am picking supports, I think about these things on like an axis, and so I feel like some of these counter each other. So the way I think about it is the healing, sustain, enchant lane counters the poke lane counters the tank lane, and the all-in lane counters the sustain lane. And then the tank lane counters the all-in lane. And so they all kind of operate on this axis where they're all bouncing off each other. And so, and also the thing about it is there's so many champs in League of Legends that there's quite a bit of crossover, right? So you can have tanks that have kind of aspects of healing or aspects of poke, and even the ability to all in or kill. Some tanks, some poke lanes have some access to healing, and some healing lanes have more poke in them as well. And so there's a bit of crossover, and there's definitely some very personalized inflections in how these categories all kind of operate with one another and cross over with one another. But I think that at the end of the day, some of these classes can be straight up hard counters to others if they're played with intent. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to make some more videos like this about other classes and stuff in the future. So make sure you guys check out my Twitch channel. I'm on Twitch streaming most days of the week, playing games, and I would love to have some more of you guys show up to them and hang out, watch me make some of the stuff. And then I'm going to take like my ideas from those games and turn them into more content. And yeah, I'm just having a great time with it all. I'm also playing 2XKO and other games and stuff too, so make sure you guys jump in the Discord server so you never miss your daily dose of vitamins. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.